The King's Avatar, Chapter 1578 Little People Sneaking into the Stadium. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1578 Little People Sneaking into the Stadium. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. 3 days' time, not too long, not too short, but it passed by in a flash. As the sun shone down upon City H after the rain, the city seemed refreshed and pure. After being washed, even the familiar streets seemed to have something new about them. 1 hour until the match's start, the audience had been let into the stadium long before, but the area outside of the stadium was still bustling with crowds of people. Far too many Glory players hoped for the chance to watch the finals live, but unfortunately, tickets were hard to obtain. There were a number of people who hung around near the stadium to try their luck, some who wanted to sneak their way in, some who were asking around to see if anyone had an extra ticket. In any case, no one was idle. Fu Chao was one of these Glory players, and his goal was the same as those of these gathered gamers, but from the very start, Fu Chao hadn't joined the crowd. There were too many people here, it would be much too difficult to try and sneak in through the front or get a ticket from someone. Fu Chao stayed far away from the crowds, and instead lingered around another area of the stadium, paying close attention to his surroundings. There were many passageways leading in and out of Zhaoshan Stadium. Right now, during such a large event, they of course opened the main doors, which were the largest and could accommodate the most traffic. And the side doors, the small doors, wouldn't be freely open for use at this time, of course. But just because they weren't open for use didn't mean that they couldn't be used. Fu Chao planned to use one of these side doors. After he walked away from the main doors, the surroundings became much calmer, and just Fu Chao saw a small unassuming door, closed shut. Fu Chao went up to it. He didn't know whether to push or pull it, but either way, after several tries, the little door didn't budge. Clearly, it was tightly locked. Fu Chao didn't give up. He hadn't thought that the stadium workers would be that careless. Anyway, he'd just come here to try his luck. Just casually walking in through an unlocked door hadn't been his real plan, either. What he wanted to do was find a worker passageway. There might be stadium workers there, but he could try and find a good opportunity to sneak in through there. There should be. Fu Chao had a great deal of faith in his assumption. He believed that there must be these kinds of staff passageways convenient for workers. He just didn't know whether Zhaoshan Stadium's workers could be bribed that easily. No matter what, he had to give it a try. Fu Chao continued to walk, until he heard the indistinct sound of voices coming from up ahead. He quickened his footsteps, turned a corner, and saw another side door, which was just about to be closed by the last person entering. "Wait up!" Fu Chao disregarded all else as he shouted and sprinted toward it. This was a chance he didn't want to miss. That person had clearly heard the shout and stopped moving, turning around to take a look. As Fu Chao ran, he waved his right hand to get attention, while his left hand was already clutching the wallet in his pocket. The side door wasn't far, and Fu Chao closed the distance in a few steps, just as the other person completely turned around. Their eyes met, and Fu Chao suddenly tripped, nearly toppling over. When he stabilized, shock was written all over his face, and he was at a loss as he stared at this person who had stopped to look at him. This was a face that Fu Chao wasn't unfamiliar with, but he'd never thought he'd have the chance to see this person at this close of a distance. Fu Chao suddenly felt like the fingers clutching his wallet were a bit stiff. Han Wenqing. Tyranny's Captain Han Wenqing. Fu Chao's brain had completely shut down. How did the stadium worker he'd been planning to bribe suddenly turn into Han Wenqing? He just looked like him. That must be it, right? Just as Fu Chao thought this, he heard another voice from inside the doorway. "What's going on?" And then another person walked out, one hand adjusting his glasses, and looked at Fu Chao. Zhang Xinjie. Fu Chao loosened the hand clutching his wallet in his pants pocket, and pinched his leg. It hurt. Who's shouting? Another sound. Another person walked out. Zhang Jiali. Tyranny's three fierce generals were actually standing in front of him right now, living and breathing. How come you're not coming? Another new voice. Was it Lin Jingyan? Evidently, Fu Chao had adjusted, and was already beginning to subconsciously make predictions. But the person who came out, Wang Jieshi? Fu Chao felt another wave of dizziness. It was actually Tiny Herb's Captain Wang Jieshi, another impossibly major figure. What's going on? What are you guys doing? One voice after another, one person after another. Less than 3 meters in front of him, Yu Wenzhou, Huang Shaoshan, Li Zan, Chu Yunshou, Yang Kong, Yu Feng. Fu Chao felt like his 5 senses were destroyed for good. Is this magic? Is this some cosplay group? How come so many gods suddenly appeared out of this little door? Glory's top gods. And then, what are they doing here? Are they all looking at me? What am I supposed to do? Immediately kneel on the ground and beg forgiveness? That's not right. I don't think I had the chance to do anything wrong yet. Then what should I do? Go up to them and say, "It is an honor to meet you all"? Damn, isn't that a bit dramatic? I have to change the tone, but how should I say it? As Fu Chao pondered, the pro-gods all exchanged glances, each with expressions of confusion. In the end, it was Han Wenqing who, unsure whether to laugh or cry, swept his gaze over everyone and said, "Someone just shouted to hold the door. What are you all doing?" Quote. After that, he simply entered the door first. As soon as everyone heard that it was just that they'd all dragged each other into this for nothing, they all laughed and re-entered the door. The last one to enter was Tiny Herb's Xu Bin, who looked at Fu Chao and left the door open for him. Fu Chao hadn't yet figured out how to greet so many gods when they'd all already went back inside. But they'd left the door for him, and Fu Chao, remembering his original intention, rushed forward and caught the door. Looking around, there were people not too far away, but none of them seemed to be paying attention to this area, so Fu Chao entered, closed the door, and then realized that he'd actually managed to sneak in just like that. And the people that had led the way for him were all of Glory's top gods. They misunderstood, and thought he was a worker? Fu Chao's mind was actually quite good, being able to think of a plan like this. Just earlier, he had been knocked a bit silly by the continuous appearance of so many gods, but now he returned to normal, and it only took a moment to realize what had happened. These pro-gods of course weren't any cosplay group, they'd also come to watch the finals live. But to have them walk in through the front doors would definitely cause unthinkable chaos, so the stadium had specially prepared for them an unassuming side passageway. Fu Chao had mistakenly ended up here, just in time to see all of these gods entering. He'd shouted without seeing who it was, and so the gods had mistakenly thought that he was a stadium worker, and he'd cheated his way in just like that. So lucky. How excited he felt. Excited at being able to enter the stadium, and even more excited at having done so through this kind of method. At this moment, Fu Chao felt like his desire to see the match wasn't even as strong as before. He was more excited to get online and gossip about this legendary encounter to all of his friends. His heart was surging, but Fu Chao didn't dare show it on his face. He had to maintain this misunderstanding. Soon, there was a bright light coming from up ahead, and the sounds of cheering rang clearer and clearer. He was just about to enter the main stadium area, the stadium of the finals. Fu Chao's thoughts instantly returned to the match. He didn't just come to the finals for the excitement. Fu Chao, as a City H resident, had been converted into a hardcore Happy fan after a season of matches, and he couldn't wait to see Happy defeat Samsara, a never-before-seen Black Horse miracle. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Go Happy! Go Samsara! The stadium echoed with the sounds of cheering from the two teams' fan clubs. Although Samsara was the away team, they had a very strong following, as expected of the current most powerful team in the alliance. Aside from the fans that had followed the team here, even in City H they had a number of supporters. Right now, even though they couldn't overturn Happy's home stadium, they could still make some waves here. They weren't suppressed by Happy's home at all. Defeat Samsara. Fu Chao was instantly angry. This was Happy's stadium. No matter what team came, this sort of pride and arrogance just wasn't allowed. Although he didn't even have a seat, he simply stood in the passageway and started shouting. As for where the pro gods had gone to sit down after arriving, Fu Chao forgot to pay attention. "Sir, please quickly return to your seat." Jumping around like this in the passageway, Fu Chao quickly drew attention, and a worker came over. But the worker didn't suspect that he didn't have a ticket, and simply instructed him to return to his seat in the interest of maintaining order. Alright, as soon as I go to the bathroom I'll return to my seat." Fu Chao had already thought about how to remain undetected after making it into the stadium. Just now, he'd forgotten himself and attracted attention, and when the worker came up to speak to him, he regretted it so much that he wanted to hit himself. He hurriedly used a bathroom excuse, and the worker hadn't become suspicious, so he quickly headed to the bathroom. He hid in the bathroom for quite a while. Watching the time, hearing the shouts from the stadium, Fu Chao grit his teeth and endured. The stadium stopped letting people in half an hour before the match officially began, and during that half an hour, the stadium went through strict procedures to secure the area. To stay in the stadium during this time without a seat, he would be discovered very easily. Fu Chao had to last through this period of time. After the match officially began, if there wasn't an absolute need, there wouldn't be any large movements from security. At that time, if workers were still wandering around everywhere and disrupting the audience, they would probably be blasted to death. 8:30. Fu Chao's watch had slid to this time, and he could hear the sounds from the stadium. The match was indeed just about to begin. Group Arena. Happy's first player was still Yi Shu. That full rookie roster he'd talked about in the press conference last time indeed turned out to be nonsense. Samsara's first player was Lu Boyuan, the all-star grappler player. You have to win. Fu Chao could only sit in the bathroom, grind his teeth, and pray. The match had only just begun, so to be safe, he was prepared to wait for a few more minutes. On one hand, he hoped for Happy to win quickly. On the other, he hoped they could play a little longer so he wouldn't miss as much. One could only imagine the conflict in his heart. 2 minutes passed. He couldn't hold back any longer. Fu Chao charged out of the bathroom, and flew back toward the main stadium area. Victory. Happy opened strong. Yi Shu, undefeated in individual match, continued his brilliant record this season, coming on stage first and defeating Samsara's Lu Boyuan. Beautiful. By the time Fu Chao arrived, all he saw was the word glory, but even so, he was as thrilled and excited as if he'd seen the entire process. But after waving his fist once, he immediately remembered that he was supposed to be lying low, and after carefully examining his surroundings, Fu Chao began to sneak around, looking for a corner where he wouldn't be noticed. The match continued. Only now did Fu Chao remember that so many top gods had come to this stadium to watch the match live. Where were these people sitting now? With how large this stadium was, there was of course no way he could find them. But when he thought about it, he knew that these people would definitely be gathered together, and the stadium would definitely have special security measures around them. As someone who didn't even have a ticket, Fu Chao would be looking for death if he tried to find where they were and slip in among them. Here's a good spot. Fu Chao finally found a seat that he was relatively satisfied with. Standing, sitting, or crouching, just being able to sneak in here and enjoy this match was satisfying enough. That was what Fu Chao had originally thought, at least. But in the end, he found that he was wrong. To be truly satisfying, the match itself need to have a satisfying outcome. But today's match ended in Happy's defeat. In the finals, Samsara took the lead in their away game, and Chapter
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1579 Heart's Longing, audio source, wusharworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1579, Heart's Longing. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Happy lost. The result of the first match of the finals was like a bucket of cold water, instantly splashing many people awake. Just before this match had begun, when the poll had finally closed, Happy had actually obtained a 51% support rate. They had actually surpassed the defending champions Samsara. Because of this, Happy's supporters were very excited. They forgot that this poll only represented people's hopes. Happy had more support only because people were curious and excited to see the Black Horse, the underdogs, overturn the Giants. Votes didn't determine the team's strength. Votes certainly couldn't determine this match's outcome. Happy didn't lose faith from their 2 losses to Samsara in the regular season. And Samsara. They weren't scared of how Happy had consecutively defeated Blue Rain and Tyranny in the playoffs. In comparison, it was clearly Samsara, having eliminated both of their opponents 2-0, who was more at ease in the playoffs. Because they were more at ease, Samsara obtained more sufficient time to rest. While Happy was bitterly fighting their third match against Tyranny, Samsara had rested for a full 6 days. This battle had been very exhausting for Happy, especially the last half hour of the team round. Tyranny, with only 4 players left and no healer, had stubbornly and fiercely fought against Happy for half an hour. They had still lost, but Happy had paid a large price for this victory. After that bitter battle, Happy returned to City H that night. After rushing about, they really only had 2 full days of rest. And then they met Samsara, who had calmly adjusted their condition for 6 days. 6 days without battle wouldn't cause any deterioration in condition, because the span of 6 days was just about the length of time between matches in the regular season. Pro teams and players had more experience using 6 days to adjust their condition than they did using 3 days. From the contents of the first match, it could be seen that although Happy still carried that fierce excitement from their battle with Tyranny, this excitement soon turned into their burden. Their spirits, not having relaxed enough from that battle, were once again tightened, and they quickly lost the tension that they need. Happy lost. This shouldn't have been too surprising of an outcome. But because of their earlier excellent performance, because it was their home game, people placed high hopes on Happy. In the face of this outcome, these people were helpless. There were many analyses searching for reasons for Happy's loss, and practically every article pointed to their exhaustion from Tyranny's match. The reason was there, but now, could Happy solve it? After this, there was still only 3 days of rest time. Samsara had won at their away game, and their spirits were high. And Happy? Could they stabilize when they were 1 game down? That night at midnight, voting for the second match opened, and Samsara's support rate surged. Sometimes gamers would vote for the team they hoped would win, but usually they voted for the team they expected to win. Hope was a type of aspiration, while expectation came from a type of trust. Happy was still a black horse, and people still could only put their hopes of a revolution on them. But now, their hopes weren't as energetic as they'd been at the start. Because of the first round's loss, these hopes had wavered, had been shaken. Happy's support rate trembled in the balance. 3 days passed, and they returned to City Est, Samsara's home stadium. When the poll closed before the match, Happy's support rate had fallen to 39.1%. There were still a number of people who hoped for a miracle. But a greater number of people now followed logic in their prediction, giving their vote to Samsara. 61.9%. With this kind of support rate, Samsara was about to turn this support into reality. They were about to win the Season 10 championship, their third consecutive championship, and build a second dynasty in glory history, the Samsara dynasty. This kind of slogan was already being proclaimed in the stadium. Samsara's fans couldn't wait to welcome this day. And Samsara Stadium had already prepared a magnificent celebratory ceremony, celebrating the establishment of the Samsara dynasty. The stadium's atmosphere was joyous. It felt nothing like the tense excitement of a playoffs match, it felt like an award ceremony. How irritating. Pro players had a very sharp sense of the atmosphere of a stadium. That crowd of glory stars who watched the first match in Ocean Stadium now gathered in City Est to watch the showdown of this second round. This atmosphere in Samsara Stadium of a dynasty being born, as though they'd already won the championship, was very irritating to these competitive players, exceptionally irritating. Yishu, that guy, can't he show some promise? Where's the spirit he had when he fought us? Huang Shaoshan shouted indignantly. To be honest, for these people watching from the audience as two teams fought for the championship was quite painful. No one wanted to see Samsara establish their dynasty, but they also weren't happy at all at the prospect of Happy winning the championship. So even as they were upset at Samsara, they had to criticize Happy as well. And they definitely had to criticize Yishu. Criticize and criticize again. Say, all of us running here together to see this finals match, are we looking for pain or looking for pain? Said Void's Li Xuan, deeply understanding this uncomfortable feeling. We will witness history. Said Zhang Xinji. If Samsara won the championship, a new dynasty would be born, and history would be made. If Happy won the championship, they were a black horse, a new team that won the championship just after joining the alliance. That, too, would enter glory's history books. So we're standing in a historical moment. Tang Hao said sarcastically, even mocking himself along with everyone. These people didn't want to witness any history. They came to glory's battlefield, in order to create their own history. Each of them wanted to be a participant. But now, they had become bystanders. Pop. Next to Li Xuan, Wu Yus cracked open a drink, the sound crisp. Everyone else was silent. To explain in relation to the fans in the rest of the audience, these players here were all fans, far more dedicated and loyal than any other fan. They were fans of themselves, their own teams, and this would never change at any moment. So, when they watched this match, they didn't particularly wish for either side's victory. What they wished most of all was to go on stage themselves and destroy both of those teams, and of course, if they could destroy all these people around them right now, that would be nice too. The atmosphere was oppressive. Captain, do you want to drink anything? I'll go buy. Tiny Herb's Lucio B jumped up. He didn't like this kind of pressure, and so he found an excuse to temporarily escape. A Coke, thanks. Wang Jiexi said. Get 2 bottles for me too. Royal Styles Tiansen said. I'd like a mineral water. Li Xuan said, nodding. Get me a bottle of milk tea. Chu Youngshu also requested of Lucio B. I want a green tea. I want a black tea. With everyone talking at the same time, Lucio B instantly collapsed. I can't remember that many. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Write it down on your phone. Xiao Shichen suggested, very kind-heartedly. Lucio B sighed and pulled out his phone. Come on, faster, get that hand speed up. Misty Rains Li Hua said, pushing forward to watch Lucio B type. On his phone, a long list of requests quickly stretched out. Practically no one was polite with him. Lucio B felt like crying. He suddenly felt like that oppressive atmosphere earlier was quite good, a great time to examine his own strengths and faults. This many, I can't hold them all, Luciobi said weakly, after writing down everyone's requests. Just make a few extra trips, said Seo Shichen. As expected of the most detail-oriented master tactician, the king of ideas. With such fast hands, your legs should be pretty quick too, no? Dai Yankee supported her captain. Luciobi was already despairing. He slowly began to trudge away, but when he felt at his pockets, his spirits suddenly lifted. He flipped his pockets inside out and then laughed loudly. Aha, I forgot to bring my wallet today. We're already giving you so much trouble, how could we let you pay out of pocket too? Yu Wenzu, calm as always, pulled out his own wallet. I'll treat everyone. Alright. Yu Feng led the applause, boosting his former captain. Captain, save me. Luciobi was about to kneel down in front of Wang Jiexe. A few others go with him, the match is about to start. Wang Jiexe spoke justice. And so the younger players of the various teams here all voluntarily stood up, teaming up to carry out this task. Everyone began to quietly wait for the match to begin. These pro players didn't care too much about who would win, and there was no need to come to watch the match live if they just wanted to analyze their opponents. Yet even so, they had all gathered here. In the end, their hearts' longing still haunted them. Everyone here wished that they were the ones standing on that stage. They couldn't participate in the finals. Then, it was still nice to come here and experience the atmosphere live. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1580. Wind Street Pattern. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1580. Wind Street Pattern. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The finals. Countless pro players and even ordinary gamers would dream of this ultimate PK stage, and now, the ones standing on that stage were Happy and Samsara. After losing the first round, Happy had no room for error. But defeating Samsara in their home stadium, so far, not a single team had accomplished it this season. Samsara Stadium had become territory that no one in the Alliance could capture. Tyranny, Blue Rain, Tiny Herb, these powerful names had found only defeat here. The team that had come closest was actually 100 Blossoms, in round 38 of the regular season, ending their battle against Samsara with 4-6. And what they'd approached was only a tie. After leaving their city first, the upcoming matches would both occur in their defended fortress, and this round's fortress was undoubtedly the strongest. This round, Samsara had the advantage of map choice. This time we won't hold back anymore. But before the match, the one who spoke first was actually Happy's Yi Shu. When he said this, his attitude was so confident and righteous that even the judge felt a bit embarrassed. Without context, one could actually believe that Happy had purposely let Samsara win in the first round. How could that be true? This was the playoffs, the teams were fighting for every inch of land. And moreover, this was the finals, the stage where ownership of the championship would be determined. Even that description of the struggle didn't feel strong enough. Who will Happy send up first? Looking at the large display screen, the pro players in the audience were all deep in discussion. If they went from habit, then it would definitely be Yi Shu. All this time, Yi Shu had fought Happy's first battle. But if this arrangement became a certainty in the minds of the opponents, then if there was a sudden change or adjustment, then it would be a very surprising blow. Among the pros, there was no lack of smart and resourceful people. In their minds, Happy may have used this arrangement all this time just so that they could surprise their opponents in a crucial moment. And now, this was the finals, and Happy was down one game. They had no more path of retreat. If they didn't use this surprise tactic now, wouldn't they have wasted the set way of thinking that they'd built up in their opponents' minds over the course of this season? Yi Zhu. Quote, but in the crowd of pro players, someone spoke with complete certainty that Yi Zhu would be the first on stage. Han Wenqing. The one who understood Yi Zhu even more than the happy players did. Han Wenqing of course understood that Yi Zhu wasn't a rigid and unchanging person. As long as it was for victory, anything could happen when it came to Yi Zhu. But at the same time, he also understood clearly, Yi Zhu wasn't someone who would shy away from responsibility at a crucial point. Yi Zhu's win streak exerted a great pressure on his opponents, but when the win streak became a fixed pattern, this pressure would gradually transfer to Yi Zhu as well. Once this pattern was broken, Team Happy would suffer the effects, so Yi Zhu had to maintain this pattern. And it was exactly because of this that many people would think that not going first was a smart thing to do. This way, the pattern wouldn't be broken, and there would be no risk of it being broken. But this would be deceiving the self as well as the enemy. Now that Yi Zhu had solidified his win streak pattern to this extent, for him to suddenly change it, too many people would probably think that this was a sign of weakness. Even if there was very logical strategy to explain it, it couldn't completely eliminate the shadow over the heart. A shadow over others. That didn't matter. But if Happy's own players had no way of dispelling this shadow, and it affected their condition, then there wouldn't be much difference between this and the win streak pattern directly breaking. Comparing the two situations, there was greater opportunity if Yi Zhu continued to go first. And Han Wenqing still believed firmly that Yi Zhu had the bravery to take up this kind of pressure. As expected, looking at the players on stage, everyone quickly realized that while the pros on both sides were showing signs of leaving the stage, only Yi Zhu took a step forward. Who's coming to die first? Yi Zhu asked Samsara. Happy's first player was still him. Hooah! Applause. The Happy fans, in this deadly Samsara stadium, desperately sent applause to their team and their captain. Knowing that the mountain hid a tiger, yet advancing toward that mountain anyway. Just this bravery was worthy of great recognition. Senior really is quite cunning. Quote, but then, someone from Samsara spoke, unhurried, wearing a smile. To be able to win consecutively for so long, everyone feels that it only gets harder and harder. If another win can be gotten under these circumstances, the morale boost to your own team and the blow to the other team reaches a peak. On the other hand, because the win streak has gone on for so long, everyone has recognized the difficulty, so perhaps too many people have already made mental preparations for the streak to be broken, right? Even if the streak was broken, imagine it wouldn't hurt your team's morale too much either, said Samsara's vice-captain Jiang Botao. You have this double-edged sword, yet the side facing you has already been blunted, while the side facing us is as sharp as ever. Senior, you have sharpened a good sword. It looks like you recognize this pretty clearly. Yi Zhu also smiled. What I know more clearly is this: the side of Senior's sword that faces us is, in fact, not that sharp. A win streak is only a record. 5 wins, 10 wins, 100 wins. In reality, it doesn't have any impact on the outcome of the upcoming match. It's like flipping a coin. If it came up heads last time, everyone feels that it's a bit more likely that it'll come up tails the next time. But actually, every time you flip a coin, the chance of heads is always the same, 50%. The chance of flipping 10 heads consecutively is the same as the chance of flipping any other sequence of outcomes. This is a very complicated math problem. You can't draw a conclusion lightly. In a bit, come over and learn from the outstanding student in our team. As for right now, are you ready to meet your death? Yi Zhu said. No, It's not me. Jiang Botao smiled, and took 2 steps back. And at the same time, the stadium display lit up with the rosters of the 2 teams for the group arena. And on stage, Samsara's first player walked forward from the rest of the team. Whoa! Instantly, the stadium was filled with shocked exclamations. Josekai. It was actually Josekai. Samsara's first player in the group arena was actually their core player, the one currently called the number 1 of Glory, Josekai. Oh. Yishu was also caught off guard, and then he glanced at Jiang Botao and smiled. It looks like you guys are pretty cunning too. Likewise. Jiang Botao smiled as well. Jiang Botao had clearly laid out all of the implications and deceptions hidden beneath Yishu's win streak pattern, but Samsara still didn't back down. They actually sent out their strongest player to deal a strong blow to Happy's spirit, just like many teams had tried before. WuxRWorldAudio.com. But they had made this arrangement while knowing all of the depths of Yishu's win streak. This was psychological warfare at a higher level. They were using their powerful self-confidence to pressure Happy. And this kind of confidence came from their past championships. From their huge lead throughout the regular season, from their 2-2-0 victories in the playoffs, from defeating Happy in their away game. They thoroughly used their advantage and their situational lead. Without doubt, Samsara was not a team that had only outstanding skill and no brains. Jiang Botao, huh? Yishu smiled. The opponent before him was Josekai, but his gaze still lingered on Jiang Botao. The younger generation is worthy of respect, Yishu said. Thank you for the compliment. Jiang Botao smiled modestly. It looks like I have the responsibility to show you guys how fearsome we seniors are, Yishu said. Jiang Botao continued to smile, and didn't respond. After all, he wasn't the one going on stage right now. Little Joe, don't get too confident, Yishu said to Josekai. I won't. Josekai shook his head and walked towards Samsara's competitor booth. Good luck, senior, Jiang Botao shouted to Yishu. Yishu lifted his head to look at the roster on the display, and nodded in satisfaction. The next one is you. I like this arrangement very much. Senior should focus on the upcoming match first, Jiang Botao said. Don't worry, just wait for me. Quote. He actually said that kind of sentence to the opponent. The judge looked like his world was being fundamentally changed. And then, Yishu also walked toward the competitor booth, while the rest of the players quickly left the stage. Round 2 of the finals, first battle of the group arena, was just about to begin. Players, Happy's Yishu versus Samsara's Josekai. One was the past, one was the present. Both called the number 1 players in Glory. They now met on stage. Today's face-off was already off to an extremely thrilling start. End chapter.